flower crown. Hey, homemade flower crown at that. Hey guys, it's Danny, and today I am going to be recommending my favorite contemporary reads. One of the things I lack when it comes to video making is creativity on having like different ideas. I'm always sticking to like the normal things that you would see on BookTube. Like I do hauls, I do wrap-ups, I do TBRs, and I do tags and stuff like that. But I don't have very many original ideas. One time I tried to do a tag video, I actually got yelled at because I had done an idea that was already done that I didn't know about until my video went up. I haven't really strayed too far in the creative box, outside of the creative box for that. And I know a lot of people do recommendation videos, but in the almost year that I have been here on BookTube, I have not done a single recommendation video. And I think it's time that that changes. The first contemporary read, most of these are going to be YA. I think this one is considered a new adult because it deals with a character in college. But I'm going to include it here in this one because it kind of reads more like a YA. Not because the writing is childish or anything. It just feels in that YA zone. I don't know where I was going with that really. But the book that I am talking about is Fangirl by Rainbow Rowell. This book was so cute. It was in my top 10 of 2014. I had never read a Rainbow Rowell before this. This was my first one. I do own Eleanor and Park, and I do plan on reading that sometime this year. I need to get on that because this book was amazing. I absolutely loved it, and it's throwing off my white balance. This book, which I have sat down there to try and balance out the colors up here, this book was so amazing. I don't even know how to describe how much I loved it. Just, I relate on like a molecular level to Kath, and that's what I said in my top 10 video too. I don't know, I just feel like I'm so much like her. I'm like the introverted kind that likes to stay inside on my computer and read and stuff like that. And she's definitely like the character that I relate to most in any book that I've ever read. And because of that, I think I enjoyed the book that much more. One thing that I wasn't too fond of was actually the fan fiction within the book. If you guys haven't read Fangirl, at the beginning of I think almost every chapter, there's like an excerpt from the fan fiction that the main character Kath wrote about Simon Snow, which is basically a spoof of Harry Potter. I found myself just kind of skimming those. I wasn't really interested in it. Maybe when Carry On actually comes out as a full book, I might enjoy it a little bit more. That's the one thing I didn't really enjoy about this book, but even that didn't change my opinion on the book, and I still gave it 5 out of 5 stars. The next 3 books are a series, and they're probably the one that you see in every single recommendation contemporary romance recommendation video alongside Tiffios right here, which I have not included in this, but I would have, but it's just kind of an obvious one, and these ones are kind of obvious too, and they are like the epitome of YA contemporary fluffy adorableness, and that is the Anna and the French Kiss series by Stephanie Perkins. We have Anna and the French Kiss, Lola and the Boy Next Door, and Isla and the Happily Ever After. These are all a companion novel series. We start off with Anna, just her and Etienne, okay? They are just perfect. And then you have the adorableness and the quirkiness that is Cricket and Lola, and then you have the perfectness that is Josh and Isla. And if I had to rank them from 1 to 3, I think Isla is my favorite because I related most to Isla, and then I would put Anna up there because it was the one that I read first, because that's when you're supposed to read first. And it's just, I just loved Anna. It was like the thing that made me love this series. But I don't know, there's just, I've always loved Paris too, so maybe that has a factor with it. I'm not 100% sure. And then I'd say Cricket and Lola and the Boy Next Door. That's probably my least of the most favorite out of these. Just because I didn't really relate to the characters as much as the other two. But I love all 3 of them. They're just the perfect fluffy summer contemporary romance. And I'm sure a lot of you have already read these and you can agree with me. But I just, yes. If you are new to my channel, you might not know this, but if you are not new and you have been here for a while, you will know that my favorite author writes a lot of YA, mainly focusing on characters that have to deal with illnesses, like cancer and stuff. She writes a lot of cancer books, and that is Lurleen McDaniel. These are 2 of her books, well, technically 6, because each of these has 3 books in it. This one, all-time favorite. I don't know if you can see those, but there are sticky notes in there to mark off the 3 books. This one has Don't Die My Love, I'll Be Seeing You, and A Rose from Melinda. I just finished rereading A Rose from Melinda the other day. I cried again. Big surprise? No. And this one has Saving Jessica, Telling Christina Goodbye, and Letting Go of Lisa. I've read all 6 of these books. I also have a whole shelf back here dedicated, like half of a shelf dedicated to her works. Every book that I read by her, I am either like super in love with or I've really enjoyed them. There are some that I didn't like as much as others. If you're looking for something closer to Tiffios, I highly recommend any one of her books that deals with cancer, especially A Rose from Melinda and Don't Die My Love. Both of those, yes. I definitely recommend Lurleen McDaniel if you guys are looking for cute contemporaries that have the deeper plots to them. She just writes them really well, and a lot of the times they're dealt with more realistically than some other books that have been written have like worked out, if that makes sense. I could boast about her all day. Eventually I will end up making a whole video about her books because I absolutely love her. She's like my #1 auto-buy author. And eventually I will collect all of the books that she has ever written. But there's over 60 of them, so I'm going to have to gradually get them because I don't have that much money to buy all those books at once. But eventually I will have them. It's a life goal. This next book is one that I don't think anybody knows about, and I don't even remember where I heard about this book. I think I was like scrolling through Amazon and I was looking for a specific book and I came across this one, and somehow it just drew me in and made me want to read it, and so I bought it. And I've never heard about it on BookTube because I think she's a self-published author, and I haven't read any of her other books, but this book was so amazing. And I have talked about it in like a really old video, but I haven't talked about it much recently. But I want to give it a reread very soon. It's only like 200 pages, so I might even reread it sometime this month before the month is out. And that is Never 18 by Megan Bostick. See it? Can you see it? Can you see it? Can you see it? I'm sorry, I had a grace moment. This is another cancer book, but it is about a boy named Austin who has cancer. He's never going to see his 18th birthday, and he wants to go around to the people in his life, whether he likes them, whether he's like hated by them, and he wants to talk to them and just have a final talk with them before he dies. At first, I wasn't really expecting a lot to do with him going and talking to people. I thought it was going to be more about him and his friend who he has a crush on, and I was like, oh, it's going to be another Tiffios, and that's why I got it. Then I read it, and it focuses a lot more than I thought it would on him going and talking to these people, whether he liked them or hated them or had a falling out with them or whatever. He went and talked to them, and it was a sticky book. It made you think. It made me cry. With that being said, I highly recommend it. And I feel like more people should know about this book because it's kind of like Tiffios, but like not at all like Tiffios because they both don't have cancer and stuff like that. Like I think every cancer book is compared to Tiffios at some point, and so I guess that's kind of why I'm relating this to that. But I highly recommend this if you're looking for a short and quick contemporary read that'll stick with you and make you think, because that definitely did it for me. The next book is a book that was also in my top 10 of 2014, and I remember reading it in summer. I started it like at 8 o'clock at night, and I finished it at like 6 o'clock in the morning. I stayed up all night to read it, and by the end of it, I was so surprised, and I was crying. And a lot of books, like I'll say a lot of books made me cry, but those books that I say make me, like when I say a book makes me cry, I know that it's a really good book, because not a lot of books make me cry, but the ones that do, those are the ones that I talk about all the time, so it seems like there's a lot, but this is definitely one of the ones that really, really just mind blown. And that is My Life Next Door by Huntley Fitzpatrick. This is about a girl whose mother is running for, I think, a local politician spot. I'm not even really sure what it was. I think it was like governor or something. Her mother is like really snooty and high standards, and her sister's going away, and next door the Garretts live, and there's a whole bunch of kids in this Garrett family. And then she meets Jace Garrett. This book was so amazing. I fell in love with the Garrett family. I fell in love with Jace especially. I thought that going into this book it was just going to be a light contemporary read, fluffy and all cute things, and then one big major problem, something to do with the parents that would break them apart, but then they'd get back together in the end. And it was a lot more than that. It had so much to do with family, not just with Jace's family, but also with Samantha's family. And there's a big plot twist in this. Just no words. No words can explain how I feel about this plot twist. I still didn't see it coming. So if you're looking for a contemporary that has to do more about family, but also their love, and how they have to like work around obstacles and things like that, then this is definitely a book you should read. I love it, and I want to read more of Huntley Fitzpatrick's books. Another book that made me feel exactly the way I did for My Life Next Door is Paper or Plastic by Vivi Barnes. I was sent this by Entangled Teen, and I got to read it last month and review it, so the review for this will be over the book and down below, but I absolutely loved this book. I'm pretty sure I gave it 4.5 stars. If it's different, I'll leave it on the screen. But I really loved this book. It's about a girl who steals a lipstick from her local Smart Mart, which is basically Walmart. And instead of being charged with a shoplifting fine, whatever, the owner of the store believes in second chances, so he offers her a position to work at the store for the entire summer to make up for the lipsticks that she stole. And because her mother is pageant obsessed and so worried about her other daughter's career, she doesn't want it to affect her other daughter's career, so she makes the main character, whose name is Alexis, she makes her work and take the job. Bring in pageant-obsessed mothers and couponers to the store and disgusting code bees, and bring in super cute and adorably geeky Noah, the store manager, who also has a background issue with the main character's best friend, and you've got this book. And it's crazy, and it's so cute. All of these books, they give you the feels. And this one, especially, because I am a big, fan of the TLC network on TV, so I am a big fan of the pageant shows and the couponing shows. I like watching that channel, and all the wedding stuff. So the fact that two of those were in here, I was like, this book is brilliant. I love it. How her father's mother, so her grandmother, is going through medical issues. She's getting old, so she has Alzheimer's, or I'm pretty sure that's what it leads to. You get to see how she deals with all of these things being thrown at her, on top of trying to please her mother, keep her job, keep her spot on the softball team, and try and deal with the fact that her best friend hates the guy that she's now falling in love with. So, I mean, there's a lot to this book, but it's still that cute, contemporary, fluffy mixture in there, and I just 10 out of 10 do recommend. The next series is one that I haven't heard of much on BookTube. I've heard it a couple of times, but not very often, and I feel like it should be known more. It might be known more outside of BookTube, but I feel like we should talk about it more because it's a really good series, and that is Perfect Chemistry series by Simone Alcolez. I can never say her name right. This series is so good. The first book is about Alex and Brittany. This is the oldest brother. All three of these books are about brothers. This is the oldest brother, this is the second oldest brother, and this is the youngest brother. These books, all three of them, are about the brothers, but then how they fall in love with these girls. But the twist is, these brothers are from the wrong side of the tracks, and they're in gangs. And these girls are like your typical run-of-the-mill, preppy, pretty girls sort of thing, especially in this one, in Perfect Chemistry. All three of these, you fall in love with all three of the Fuentes brothers. I cannot get over how much I loved them. You have Alex and Brittany in this one, you have Carlos and Kiara in this one, and then you have Louie and Nikki in this one, in the third and final one. And you fall in love with each of these brothers, and just, I can't even, words don't even, it doesn't. If you're looking for something where it's the bad boy meets the good girl and how he changes her and she changes him and they fall in love even though they're not supposed to be together, and it's kind of like a Romeo and Juliet situation up in here, read these. Every book that I'm talking about, I can't stop smiling. My cheeks hurt from smiling and talking about all of these books, but they're all like so good, and I really think that a lot more people should know about this series. This next series is one that's been around since I was like 7 or earlier than that. I'm sure everybody at one point or another has read these books or heard about these books or even just seen the movies, and that is the Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants. Specifically the first 4, because up until a few years ago there were only 4, but now there's 5. There's a 5th one. And these are by Anna Brashares, if I forgot to mention that. The first 4 follow the girls through 4 summers where they send off the traveling pants around the world when they're apart, and mysteriously and magically these pants fit each one of these girls, even though some of them are bigger than others, and some of them have wider hips, and some of them are skinny as a rail and stuff like that. The 5th one is more of a new adult, even adult, because they are like 30 in that book, but they're more like 16, 17, 18-ish in these ones. And you get a lot of summery romance, you get a lot of family issues in these books. It's been a while since I reread them. I might reread them this summer. They're definitely a good summery read. Maybe I'll make a recommendation video just about summery reads, because I have a lot of those. A lot of these contemporaries actually are pretty good for summer. And if you haven't read this book series, why not? Because they've been around forever, and I'm sure a lot of people have actually already read these. But if you haven't, you need to, because they're so good, and I'm just gonna keep flinging them around and not let the camera focus on them. But flailing arms mean good things. So these books, they're upside down now, but just read them. They're so good. The next book is an ebook, so I don't have a physical copy of it. So I'm going to pop the cover right here, and it is How Not to Fall in Love by Lisa Brown Roberts. This book was also sent to me from Entangled Teen when I first got in contact with them, and they didn't have any physical copies, so they sent me an e-copy, which I was equally as happy with, and I finished it like the day after they gave it to me, and loved it. It's about this girl named Darcy who is so used to living the high life, and she has a really expensive car and a really expensive house, and then all of a sudden her father's motivational speaking company is basically going down in the dumps. Her dad goes and like disappears off the charts, and he's basically left her and her mom to fend for themselves with no money because the company's going kaput. And so the house is gone, her car gets repossessed, and they basically have nothing after having everything. So she has to get a job she actually gets in contact with her Uncle Charlie, who runs a thrift shop. She gets a job at the local coffee shop across from his store, and she meets the fix-it guy of Charlie, her uncle's store, named Lucas. When you read this book, you automatically feel Like, you feel bad for Darcy, and then you meet Lucas, and just with any boy in a contemporary read, I think it's like instant reaction, in my opinion, for me, to fall in love with this boy main character no matter what book. With Lucas, you get to see him with his sister, who is adorable, and you get to see how he works at Charlie's shop, and he's trying to go to college, and I think his mom is gone. It's him and his dad and his sister, and Darcy gets to come into their family, and she has to deal with her own issues with her mom, like, because her mom ends up going off the deep end as well, because she didn't expect for her husband to leave her like that. So she, like I said, she has to deal with getting her mom back on track, trying to find them a house to live in, trying to support them off of a part-time job at a coffee shop, and also trying to get used to the fact that she's not going to have all that money anymore that her dad used to have. And she also has to try and figure out the mystery of where her father went and what happened to him and why he went off the deep end and disappeared. So this one has a lot of twists and turns and unexpected situations, but they're so good. And I gave this one 4.5 stars as well, like I did with Paper and Plastic, and I also have a review for that, so it'll be linked down below. Like I said, for most of these, if you're looking for the cute contemporary read that has that deeper and like plot twisty action in it, definitely pick up this one or any of the other ones that I've said that before, because these, I wouldn't push a book if I didn't think it was really good. And so that's why I'm kind of like, here, read these, just do it, just read them. And then when you're done reading them, come back here and tell me what you thought so I can fangirl with somebody, because I need more people to fangirl with about all of these books. The last book I'm going to talk about is another book that has to do with cancer. This one is considerably, Jesus. This one is actually a little bit more known in the community of BookTube, and on Goodreads I've heard a lot about it, and it is definitely one of the ones that is compared to Tiffios because it is the cancer book. While it does have its similarities to Tiffios, there is a big difference between the two as well, and that is part of the reason why I liked it so much, and that is Zack and Mia by A.J. Betts. I read this one going into it, I was like, oh, it's going to be another Tiffios book. I did. I thought I was just going to be reading another spin-off of Tiffios, some sort. I have to admit, it was very similar. But there were parts to it that weren't so similar. There were the big differences, like the guy lives on a farm, and it takes a very long time for them to realize that a relationship between each other, between the two of them, could work or would want to happen, if that makes sense. It's like a very slow fizzle romance, which I'm one of those people that likes it to happen fairly early on in the book. I just really enjoy books like this, and I don't know why. Like, I read a lot of Laurel and McDaniel and John Green's books. They're all kind of like this, and I find that a lot of the books that I've talked about, like this one, John Green, Laurel and McDaniel's books, well, I didn't talk about John Green's, but I mentioned it, and then Never 18, I mentioned that, I talked about that one too. They all have to do with cancer. I don't know why I like those books so much, but sometimes I feel like those are the ones that really stick with you and make you think, and just, I don't know. This is one of those books, so I highly suggest it. I read this one in less than a night, and I loved it. So that is it for my contemporary reads recommendations. I probably could have added a few more. There were a couple more that I wanted to add in there, but eventually I'll make a part 2 because I'm always reading new contemporaries. There are a crap load of them down on my TBR shelves, so it's just a matter of time before I have another pile built up, and I'll be making a part 2. I do have a new Adults Recommend planned to be filmed soon. I don't know when that will happen, but it's gonna happen soon. As well as an if you like this, then you'll like that sort of recommendations book. Again, I'm not sure exactly when these are coming out, but they'll be out soon enough. If you have any contemporary read suggestions that you think I should read, or if you're wondering if I have read and what I thought, leave them down below. I can always answer, and I'm always looking for recommendations, and I always say that in my videos, but not many people comment suggestions for books. So please comment, because I want more books. I want all the books, but I want more contemporary. That's like my favorite. So yes, share the love, share the books, please. So I am off to go film those videos. I will see you guys in my next one.